Yes, I think that is truly the one message that every single person on the planet needs to hear, is that it begins inside themselves, and they want to be free, and they want to be happy, and they want to be peaceful, and they want to be joyful. That's all inside.
Welcome back to Sacred Creators, where we expand our infinite potential. I'm Sarah, if you're new here, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about joy, how to have more joy in your life, how to identify joy. We're learning from the lovely Laura May today. Laura May is a life and business coach, motivational speaker, and creator of the Power of the Joy Journal. As a motherless daughter, Laura May also specialises in support for daughters that have lost their mums. Laura is the most energetic, enthusiastic, boundless, excitable person that I have met. She is so inspiring, so empowering and impactful in everything that she says and the essence of who she is. And I'm super happy to have her on the podcast today. So here she is. Okay, let's talk about joy then.
Okay.
Let's talk about joy.
I like joy.
Yes, me too. Tell me about Joy Journal.
Okay, well, I have one here I can hold up and show you what it looks like. So it's called Power of the Joy Journal because it's a play on words. In the sense that it's we're talking about our power, our inner power, and joy is a frequency, a vibration. So I don't know if you've ever heard of David R. Hawkins, but for 20 years, David R. Hawkins, he was a psychiatrist, and he did 20 years of research around vibration. You hear about people talking about good vibes. Well, there's such thing as good vibes, and there's such thing as bad vibes. People talk about it in that way, but it actually isn't good or bad. It's density. So there are heavy frequency energies and there are light frequency energies, like lighter in comparison to denser or heavier. And so David R. Hawkins, with the process of kinesiology, muscle testing, he tested over 20 years of research on human emotion, human consciousness, and human emotion. And so he called one of his books Power. So note Power of the Joy Journal, Power versus Force. And he talked about lower frequency vibrations being more force. It took more force to be at a lower frequency vibration, like anger, jealousy, resentment, shame, guilt. Shame and guilt are at the very bottom of what he calls the map of consciousness. So it's a scale from 0 to 1,000, where the low frequency vibrations are shame, guilt, anger, resentment. It's like your body's doing this, right? You're like
contorting itself. Yeah.
And as you move up the frequency scale, your shoulders go back, your heart opens, they're lighter frequencies. Then you're in your empowerment. So power of the joy is the frequency of joy. So the Joy Journal pulls from the inside out the memory, because we already know all this. This is not something new to any one of us. We all know it. We're just remembering it. The Joy Journal pulls you up and out. It helps you to express your internal joy. Joy is not in things. It's inside of us. So it just looks like a cute little blue book with, it says Joy Journal on it. Yay, cutie cute. But there's so much more going on with this process. Right. It's based on the idea that we can raise our own frequency from shame, guilt, anger, resentment, and raise ourselves up to a higher frequency of the level of joy. So in the map of consciousness, David R. Hawkins said that shame and guilt were down at 30, 20, very low frequency. Joy is at 540.
Right.
Okay. So this journal is based on the premise that we have a say over our own experience. And then there are 3 parts to the joy journal. There's goal setting. And in the goal setting process, we also explore what our purpose on the planet is, what we envision for our life, and our goals. And then we have our gratitude and the power of appreciation and gratitude. And that humility is an opening to what we really want in life. And then our personal affirmations. So how are you talking to yourself?
Yes.
What are you saying to yourself? So goals, gratitude, personal affirmations, the 3 parts of the joy journal. And when I teach it in workshop format, I have more of an opportunity to really unfold it and deep dive into each part and how that affects us in our everyday life. So it's not just a book that you pick up a journal, yay, woohoo. No, there's so much more going on. And so this book has a general explanation in it. So at the beginning, it talks a little bit about me as a person. It talks a little bit about some basic things we need to know about how to raise our vibration. And then it unfolds it in the 3 parts. We are amazing. And if we've received anything that has messaged that's different from how amazing you are, then it's a lie. There are lies in there somewhere. And you're being lied to when you don't feel good. Yeah. Because our natural state is feeling good. So
yeah. I've resonate with that, because when you said that we all, in the beginning, you said we all have it. We all have the joy. We all have this in us. There's nothing new to learn. And you could say, well, how could that be? It's just like, well, the way that things make you feel. You know how it feels when you don't feel good, when you feel guilt, when you feel shame. You don't feel good. So how would you go about setting a goal if we have a mentality that is more dense and you've arrived in this place? How would you go about setting a goal in the first place?
Well, I mean, the first step is to know that you have choice around those feelings. And part of the workshop, that when we run the workshop, we talk about Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl was a Viennese psychiatrist in the war years. He was in the Second World War in the concentration camps. And he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And in that book, he talks about that every situation comes with choice and that there's a space between everything. And so when we're talking about moving from a place of being in a negative vibration, we first start with the awareness of that. So it's always awareness. I am aware of the fact that I feel a heaviness inside of me. It's that self-awareness, bringing yourself back into yourself, as it were, checking the body. So doing like a body scan. Where do you feel that heaviness in your body? And then the acknowledgement that, with the knowing that it's there, that are you willing to? So asking yourself, am I willing to release the story that goes with or comes along with this trapped emotion? And if I'm willing to release it, then slowly the body will release it. All the body's doing is giving you, it's like an indicator light on your vehicle. The body is giving you an indicator that something's going on in the body, because you're not meant to be in dis-ease. You're not meant to be dysregulated. You're not meant to be in a negative vibration. Negative vibration, think of it this way. Negative vibration is destructive. Positive vibration is procreative. Right. So procreation brings forth new life. Destruction destroys life. So obviously, you don't want to stay in a negative vibration. Even if it feels good because you're used to it, doesn't mean that it's good for you. And so folks have choice. Not everybody's going to want to move from a place of negative vibration. Joe Dispenza talks about it all the time. 70% of the planet is addicted to victim mentality. It's choice. But if you've decided once and for all that you would like to have a say over your life, that you would like to move past that,
I want to move on.
Then you're on your way. You're on your way because you said, I don't know what. I don't know what I need to do. I just know I need to do something. And I'm willing, I'm open to learning more and to expand my awareness. That's all that it takes.
Yeah.
But it's a big one because a lot of folks are trapped in the cycle of, well, I want to bring my whole family along with me, or I want to bring all my friends with me on my journey of healing. And most folks don't choose healing.
Yeah.
They look outside. Victim mentality says somebody needs to come along and save me from my life.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say, I would like to empower myself to actually figure out a way to save myself.
Yes, exactly.
So this work is not a walk in the park. It's doing the work, and it's all the kinds of work. It's dismantling all places across the globe that has kept you separate from other people. It's a big job, but it's worth it, because when you come out the other side, you realize you're not separate from anyone, that you are everyone, and everyone is you. And it's one big, awesome, incredible family that you are celebrating every day, and you're never alone again. That's what you get when you do this work. So it's choice. It's not easy. So to go back to your question, how do you set a goal from a negative vibration? First step is to recognize that there is a negative vibration happening. Okay, hello, negative vibration. I see you.
Yeah.
I see you hanging out in my belly, or I see you hanging out in my heart, or I see you negative energy hanging out in my head. Hello, what's going on? What's up? What's going on? What are you doing?
Talk
Why
to
are you
it.
here?
Have a conversation.
Yeah. And then you start having a relation. You're not pushing it aside and casting it away and sending it, out. You bring it in, call it in, say, oh, hello, I see you. What's going on? Why are you there? What's happening? And then you create a relationship with it, and then you can start to move it, right? And having somebody to walk beside you during this is really important. So finding someone who knows how to work with you and work with energy and work with releasing all those things, good idea. And then to set your goal is, once you allow yourself to want again, allow yourself to take the lid off of wanting. Like we arrive on the planet, and you and I know, Sarah, because we studied together with our business coach work with Bob Proctor and friends.
Yes.
And the whole idea that we arrive on the planet and we're celebrating, like we're excited to be here. We're like, yay, hi, hello. I'm here.
All cute and bold. Yes.
And then you get to a certain age and they start to put a lid on your excitement. Like, oh, shush, you're being too loud, or you're not being polite, or, tone policing, or, shush, turn your head frontwards,
You're not allowed to do that. Can't do that.
We're going to tell you how to draw a tree. You don't know how to draw a tree. Yeah. We're going to tell you how to draw a tree. And, we're corralled in and told this is who you are. And so you it's like a lid. Here's your excited, wanting, expressive. I have goals. I have dreams. I have all these wonderful things in my life. And somebody just comes along and puts a lid on it. It just says, stop that, stop that, stop that. And before you know it, you're censoring yourself before you even express. And so what we do with our goal setting is that we first take our lid off of wanting. We say, okay, let's say you didn't have any rules, or let's say you had an opportunity to remember those dreams you had when you were little. What were they? And then you start allowing yourself to dream and love life again. And you open up. That's the first step. And then you start to see patterns in what those goals might look like. You narrow it down, and then you get really clear. I mean, there's so many different parts to goal setting, as you know, through the Bob Proctor work, that goals have there are three different types of goals. And we go through that as well in the Joy Journal. And setting a big goal is different from setting a SMART goal. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's so interesting. The first thing that you said was the dialogue, watching the dialogue that you have within yourself, and how relevant it is to culture today. especially with the cancel culture and so on, and like, you can't say this is wrong, and want to fight everyone. So imagine that you're having this conversation in your head and you're being aggressive with it, and you're being aggressive with yourself, and the fight is continuing. And that's why the fight is outside still. So when they say, the war is within, the reason why things are happening in the world is because they're happening within us. And when we start to be like, hey, what's happening? I'm here for you. What's up? Speak to me. What's going on? Why do you feel this in your heart? What happened back then? Imagine if you spoke to someone like that day to day and had compassion for them, how that would make people feel, how it makes you feel, how you can develop from it, and what it could do to someone else on that physical level. How incredible it is. And I've noticed it with myself. The gentler I have become with myself, the gentler I am with other people who have different ideas to me or do things differently to me. It's more of a curiosity rather than attack. And this is where the work comes in, because we will start to see it outside. And the second thing that was interesting with so you're saying that in order to, if you're in a negative place already, or anyone setting a goal, to start with your imagination, to start by dreaming. And the best thing about dreaming is that you don't have any rules, and you can dream to be a cartoon, you can dream to be in space, you can dream to go underground. Like, it's incredible when you really lift the lid off. And even when I'm saying it now, it's just like, I feel like I could dream more. Like, I could dream so much more. And when you're given that level of freedom, you do feel like a child, or beyond a child. Like, you're not bound by 3D rules. You can do anything, be anything. You can make it up, And as an adult, having to experience this, it's so important, and we should be doing it every day, just as a practice, and see what comes up. It just massages our horizons even more. So I really like that aspect of dreaming first. Before we do anything, we have to dream. That's how everything starts.
And we're born with the capability. We don't have to download an app to do it. We don't have to
learn it.
Permission. We don't have to wait for someone to say, okay, now it's time. What we had when we arrived is what we need to go back and remember. That's it. You start there and everything starts to fall into place.
Yeah.
And no one can take it away from you.
That's so
They can try to suppress it, but the more you know how powerful you are, the less you could be suppressed from the inside out. And that's what Viktor Frankl was also talking about, is even though he was experiencing such atrocities, he was not condoning the atrocities, okay with it by any means, but he had the choice on how it affected his perception of the world as a whole. He was not willing to decide that because of what he was seeing certain humans doing, that was the way the world was going to be or is. He had choice around whether or not he was going to see the beauty in the world anyway, even though some humans had lost their way. So it's you can't take a person's joy away from them if they understand that it comes from within them. He didn't enjoy himself, but he didn't allow anybody to steal his joy either.
Yeah. Because I guess everything then is neutral, because some things that give you joy won't necessarily spark the emotion of joy within me.
Exactly.
So everything and everything can be joyful, just depending on your connection to it, or how willingly you're allowing yourself to be connected to joy. I read a story about some monks, or I watched a documentary, and they were waking up to prayer. And I think it was the documentary, the camera guy that was waking up with them, and he heard them laughing in the kitchen, like hilariously laughing. And so when he got to the kitchen, he was like, what's so funny? And they were laughing at the way the bubbles were bubbling. They were boiling some milk. Like anything could be funny, you know, like, wow, isn't that incredible? They were just laughing at the way the bubbles were bubbling in a pan of milk. You can find joy in anything.
Yes.
And I guess the more relaxed and the more you get into dreaming and softening, you're able to, the joy is just coming over you, I guess.
Exactly.
That's where we want to be.
And watch children, right? They just it's funny. I remember my brother and me, when we were kids, we would just lie upside down to one another. And I do it with people sometimes too. It's hilarious just watching somebody upside down, watching the mouth. The mouth is the nose and the nose is the mouth.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. And you could just kill yourself laughing for hours just at that. All the studies say that laughter, you want to be well, laugh.
Yes.
You want to be well. People talk about wellness. Oh my goodness. And joy. Just giggle, laugh, have a hoot.
Yes.
You know, there's studies about water. And we used to do these tests about rice and how you'd put negative words on a jar of rice, and then you put positive words on a jar of rice, and then you put nothing on the jar of rice. So you have 3 jars of rice, and then the experiment is over a period of time. It's actually the Water Peace Project on Instagram. If you look it up, they've got one going right now. And so the negative words, the positive words, and the neutral words, and based on the words that are said to the rice every day, the rice responds. So the molecular structure is affected by the words that are utilized. And so there's also Dr. Emoto, who did photos of water, frozen water, and said nice things to the water. And if he said nice things to the water, like love, thank you, gratitude, then the molecular structure was so crystalline, beautiful. And then if he said negative words, that the water structure was negative. If you think about it, your body's made up of at least 70% water. So if you're saying nice things to yourself, your water crystals are all doing this really cool
symmetrical and beautiful.
Geometrical shaping. And so here in Canada, I'm in Ontario, we have a lot of snow. And so my joy is that when it snows, I'm sending love to all the snowflakes. And I just think that's the coolest thing, that I'm like surrounding myself with all this love and joy and harmony. I'm changing the molecular structure of the snow. Makes you look at snow differently and water differently.
For sure.
If you know you can change the molecular structure just by your words and your thoughts and your intention.
There is water in the air right now. You know, there's very small particles. When I'm speaking, it is filling up the room. It's everywhere. So if we have this knowledge to apply it to basically everything, it is all around us. So it's in our best interest to say beautiful things, to say positive things to ourselves, to others, to be in a good mindset, because it's affecting all that is around us. Can you tell me a little bit about gratitude? Because you mentioned gratitude and appreciation was the next step in your joy journal. How does that tie in?
So gratitude is another way of saying it. Well, it's saying thank you. And if you really think about it, it's a rememory of your connection with Creator, whatever you deem Creator to be. I would never want anyone to feel that they were coerced in any way ever on what that means for them. Everyone is different in how they interpret life, Creator, universe, source, God, whatever they deem it to be. I do encourage folks to think about considering the fact that there is something bigger than themselves. I never coerce them, but I definitely say, ask them. You know, I look out at the trees and I say, so see those trees out there? Did you bring them here? And I didn't bring them here. Did you bring them here? No, I didn't bring them. Okay. So something did. And chances are it's a little bit more intricate than we understand. Yes. Okay. So that's the premise that we start with. The idea that life brings us things, like life grants us things, like grants me the opportunity to have a loving relationship, friendship with you. That's a gift that I'm receiving from life. So I'm grateful for that. And I believe that it's humility that brings us there. There's a humbleness that comes being able to say thank you. And if you want to be healthy, get humble. Because humbleness is a way to be open. It's a way to be aware of the things that you have in your life. So I encourage myself, of course. I practice this myself. I write my gratitude every day. I'm consistently saying thank you to everything because I understand that when I say thank you, I'm creating relationship, and you can have a relationship with all things, all beings, everything in our indigenous culture. In indigenous culture, there is no such thing as a thing. So everything's alive. So you can have a relationship with all beings. Everything's a being, tree beings, bird beings, grass beings. So it's an expansion to honor and acknowledge that you didn't make it all happen, and here it is in your life. The simplest things, right down to a hot cup of tea on a cold day. It's being grateful for the things life is bringing you and acknowledging it and allowing yourself to humble yourself enough to say that you didn't make that happen, that you were a creator in the process. So therefore it happened because you were a co-creator in the process, but you didn't do it all by yourself.
No, yeah.
And then the appreciation part of gratitude is that I loved how this came together when the Joy Journal was coming together, where I realized that when you appreciate, my definition of appreciation is that you realize the way in which you are being loved by humans, by the other humans. So the humans in your life show you their love. And so we have gratitude and appreciation. That part of the Joy Journal is all about who is and how are you being loved, and how are you loving, and that acknowledgement. So then you're writing the truth of that in your experience. So the Joy Journal is it's like a document. It's like your life being documented by all the ways in which you're receiving love in a day.
Yes.
So you're out. As Bob Proctor would say, through the work, what he learned along the way was he's harvesting the good. So you're noticing how you're loved and who's loving you and how you are loving others. Yeah. So it's a deep process of self-awareness and self-acknowledgement.
That resonates because it's so easy to think, I know with myself sometimes, that I'm not doing enough, I'm not giving enough, I'm not there for the people that I love enough. And I have to remind myself, like, I think about them. I made a phone call to my sister, and that is a beautiful thing. And just like, hold on a second, let me bring it back a minute, because I'm amazing, and I'm loving everybody that's in my life, and it's great that I want to express more love to them. But let's look at the places what is already happening, and have a look at that and see how this can propel us into a higher vibration, so that we are open to receive and we're more open to give, and we realize how innately good that we are. It's very easy to think that we need to be more loving, we're not loving enough, or people aren't loving to us, or having this victim mentality, I guess, that no one appreciates me, nothing is happening for me, nobody loves me. And just, I guess that's where the Joy Journal comes in, because you're like, okay, let's have a look at things and take it piece by piece and see where the love is at, you know? Yeah.
Exactly. And that we all have different ways of showing our love, and to be bold enough to say, well, it has to happen the way I expected. You actually end up missing out on the love that people are giving you. Because not everybody's going to love you in the language that you know. So if you love somebody, learn their language.
Yeah. How do you learn love language?
Have you heard of the book, The 5 Love Languages?
No, I haven't.
So there's a lovely gentleman, Gary Chapman, who I believe was a marriage therapist for 20 years and realized there were patterns in the way in which love showed themselves in marriages. And so he's come up with an awesome little quiz that you can do online called The 5 Love Languages. And there are 5 main languages that he found in his research. It was anecdotal, but it works. And those are gift giving, physical touch, acts of service, words of affirmation, and quality time. And so let's say, Sarah, you and your partner are wanting to speak a love language with one another, and you don't understand, you're having difficulty understanding each other. You would do the quiz and you would find it. Let's say you found out that your top 2 languages are acts of service and quality time, and your partners are gift giving and words of affirmation. Well, chances are your partner's going to drop little notes and gifts to you, but you never see them because they're busy doing other things. It's not, quality time with you isn't as important. It's not on the top of their list, but a person who's quality time and they're receiving gifts, but they never get any time with that person, then they're speaking 2 very different languages, and it can get very complicated very quickly. So in my workshops, I found that the feedback I receive from folks that have attended the workshops and have done this work is they realized that their partner was loving them the whole time. So one example of that is they're a gift giver and their partner is an acts of service. And so the complaint was that they never gave them any gifts, never even remembered their birthday, but they were constantly asking them if they needed gas for their car or oil in their tank, or could they mow the lawn or make dinner. And the gift giver doesn't want their lawn cut. They just want them to buy them Valentine's gifts.
I want a gift.
And so when they realized that every time the oil got changed and the car got washed and the grass got cut, that was their gift, then it was, they very upset to realize that they had taken advantage, not understanding. And I said, well, if you were someone who spoke French and the other person spoke English and you didn't know each other's language, but you loved each other, you learn a little bit, enough of the language to know how to say, I love you.
Yes.
And so figure out what your language is and what their language is and do the work.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's quite relationship changing, actually. And it's really important to do it also about your parents, because a lot of kids complain, adult kids, they complain about my dad was never there, or my mom wasn't there for me. And then if they do the love languages and they ask themselves, what do you think your parents' love languages were? They get very upset in a really wonderful way. They say, they were loving me the whole time. They were working overseas, or they were sending gifts in the mail. That was like they were sending their heart over, but you didn't know that because you didn't speak that same language. So it's just one way. I mean, every way that we find is just one. It's like what's out of the Eckhart Tolle book, A New Earth. It's the finger pointing to the moon is not the moon. They're indicators. They're not the truth. It's something's pointing to the truth. So the more tools you can have in your toolbox of different ways to know yourself, the better, because they'll work for a while and then you'll need something new.
Yes. And I guess like the work that you're doing is important because it gets you to, whether you do a love language test or not, it gets you to identify the different ways that love comes in. So you'll always be appreciative of the different embodiments of love and always be recognizing of that. And that will actually strengthen your relationships. You'll have longer lasting relationships because you will less likely to feel unloved, because you can see love in more moments than ever before.
Yes, we're all just walking each other home. So it's an opening. Yeah. It's allowing yourself to be loved. That's the first step. Once you allow yourself to be loved, you'll see where the love is. Yeah. But you really have to start with loving yourself. And this is really about getting to know you and what you need first.
Absolutely.
Maybe get really, this is the one consistent human you will always have with you. Till the day you croak, you've got yourself. So figure it out with yourself it's my humor, but
you have to deal with yourself all day long. So it has to start here. You can't expect anyone else to do it for you.
Well, I mean, there's only one person you sleep with the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Aren't you going to date them at least? Well, people say, "Oh, I have to bring my friend with me to the movies." And I challenge that. I say, "Oh, okay. Why?" Well, because I can't watch the movie by myself. And I say, "But you are watching the movie by yourself." Well, no, my friend's right there beside me. Yeah, but they're not watching it with you. They're parallel playing with you. They're sitting in the same room at the same time, but they're not seeing what you're seeing. You go to sleep and you got your wonderful partner beside you going to sleep at night. You say goodnight to your partner, then you go to sleep.
Yeah.
You're on your own going to sleep. Yes, your partner's right there. But you're on your own going to sleep. But people don't think about that. They need to think about that, because you come in by yourself. Yeah. You arrive on the planet by yourself in your own little space capsule. And then the humans are there. And when you leave, you're by yourself. So what are you doing the rest of the time? Hello.
When you say that we just have ourselves, you're going to the movies on your own, and everyone is on their own. So how is it that everyone can be on their own? We must all be having this collaborative thing within, but it looks like we're all being separate outside. So
one of the analogies that I've learned along the way, because that's something that comes up a lot, because it's like this contradiction, right? It's like an oxymoron, which, by the way, I love that word, oxymoron. Like, what a great word.
Yeah.
Oxymoron.
Yeah, it sounds terrible. Yeah.
But so I like to think of it, I think it's Marianne Williamson that talks about it this way as well, but it's like, you think about the body, like the earth body, like a body. So you have the earth has all the humans on it. The body has all the cells in it. So we have about 100 trillion cells in our body. Each cell has its own little brain. Like they're so cool. I don't know if you talk to your cells, but I talk to mine all the time. Every little cell in my body is healthy. Every little cell in my body is well. I love my cells. They're awesome. They work so hard. They never take a break. They don't ever stop. They're constantly working. We go to sleep and they're like, oh, awesome. So here they are, these cute little cells running around, working so hard with the little brain inside, the mitochondria and all the fun stuff, right? And they're their own little entity. And then they're the heart cells. Or maybe your job is to be a liver cell or a blood cell or a follicle, a hair follicle cell. But they're all separate with different jobs in the body, but they're all part of the same body. And that's what people if we think of it that way, then yes, we're separate because we have our own, like a heart cell isn't going to run over the liver cell and like hang out there.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to do that. Yeah.
Right. Because they don't have a lot to talk about, like the liver cell's doing its thing and the heart cells do. They might say, hey, how's the heart? Well, how's the liver? Okay, see ya. Because they got to get back to work. They're busy.
Yeah, they're communicating.
They don't have the same role. So they might never, ever run into each other. Just like people that live in Austria maybe never will run into somebody who lives in London, but that doesn't mean they're not connected. And so is the heart cell going to run over to the liver cell and blow it to smithereens? No, why?
Because then we all die.
Right. It's that flippin' simple. That's how easy it is to look at this. And that's why it's ridiculous for us to be running around. Oh, you live on that side of the liver. Oh, well, you're not as good as that side of the liver. Oh, you drive a truck for a living. Oh, you're not as good as really? Yeah. So it's myopic. Yes. It's so 1980s. Like, really? Like, get over yourselves and realize that everything we do connects the bigger picture. Yes. And the more we remember that and, have some fun with it. Think of different analogies. How would you explain it to a child? No, the cactus does not hang out with the pine tree. But there's nothing wrong with the cactus and there's nothing wrong with the pine tree. And we need each other because they're both sending oxygen to the earth. They're both sending all the nutrients and everything to the soil. We are all sending nutrients to the soil. We are all sending the good stuff to the atmosphere. So we are sacred. We need to be celebrating one another. And when we fall madly in love with ourselves and our own little, like I have the Laura May role. Okay. That's my little puzzle piece. I'm not supposed to be Sarah. I'm supposed to revere Sarah. I celebrate Sarah. I do my best to pull Sarah out and celebrate her if if she's interested in that, and vice versa. I'm not supposed to be fighting Sarah because Sarah and I are one.
Yes. Yeah. It's beautiful.
It is possible. People have all these reasons. The victim mentality says it's not possible. Well, I would like to surpass that victim energy and say that there is a quantum field and that we can choose a new way. And that's the work that I do ultimately is for that purpose, is for us to be living the truth of who we really are, which is powerful creative beings that are meant to be working together. It's called unity consciousness. And when we remember that we're all one family, it sure feels good, I tell you, to remember that.
Yeah.
So,
and there's so many, like you said, there's so many examples of how that is being shown to us on a day-to-day basis, like especially within nature. And we have a lot of science to kind of prove how our bodies operate. So we have even more reasons to look at that and see what is working for us. And that without even doing anything, just breathing and just by being yourself, you're contributing to it just by being you. And by you being someone else, or by you criticizing someone else because they're not like you, it's not the point, because you're supposed to be you. I'm supposed to be me within this whole thing. That's why it works.
Exactly. And it would be so incredibly boring if we were all the same.
Yeah. It doesn't feel good. That's why we push against it, because we don't identify with it. And the reason why people do is because of fear. There's people in different parts of the world, I guess all cultures have different ways of being, but where it is a thing to be uniform. It's better when we're the same, because no one is standing out. And that makes people feel safe because of fear, not because of a celebration of who you are, but the way people have been made to feel by difference. So it works better for the collective for you to all be the same and you're to fear difference, but we're not to fear difference. We're to welcome difference.
We never outgrow the need to feel safe psychologically and physically. So, in the circle of security work, the idea of circle of security in attachment between a child and their caregiver is that the child goes out into the world to experience the world, to try new things, to play with their friends, but they're looking back to see if the hands are open from the caregiver, right? That they're welcome back into the circle of security when their day is done or when their adventure is over. They want to come back in to the circle of security and be held and seen.
Yes.
We don't outgrow that.
Yeah.
When we're 50. We go out into the community and we go on our adventure and we do our thing, but we're looking back to whoever it is that we chose to have in our nest, whether it's our, it's our spouse or our dog or our child or our coworker. We're looking to see, are we safe?
Yeah.
Do we have a community? So you create the community if you can't get it from your people, your biological people. There are ways. So if we can honestly look at ourselves first as someone who needs to always know that there's a safe space to go. And if you can't find it from the humans, it's the nest is outside. She's always there for you. The earth's always there for you. And then once you can do that for yourself and you get yourself regulated, you're feeling emotionally and physically safe, then you offer that. You celebrate that and then you offer it to others and you hold space for them.
Yes.
So it's interesting. You were talking about it earlier around feeling fear. Well, fear is always a small child. When we're scared, we're little.
Yeah.
But watch road rage. They're screaming and yelling and carrying on with each other. If you were to stop and ask them, chances are they're scared of something. Something's upsetting them. And so instead of exacerbating the problem, you diffuse the problem by saying, hey, I noticed, you're awfully yelly today. What's up? What's going on?
Yeah,
what do you need?
Yeah.
What do you need? How can I help?
Yeah.
And, you look after yourself first, you're not extending yourself like a martyr. You make sure you look after your little campsite first. But when that's all tidy and your cups are full and you're like looking for somebody to share the full cups with, but you fill yours first, get your little campsite all organized and okay, now I can go out into the world and share. Don't do it the other way around. That's self-sacrifice. That's an old paradigm. That's an old pattern that keeps you small too. But look after yourself first and get out there. And oh my goodness, if we all did that,
and have more compassion towards each other. I think it's spot on what you said. Show it to yourself and then be willing and you're more open anyway, naturally to have more compassion for other people and to be more curious and want to help and want to be there because you are full in yourself.
And what I love about you, and I'm so glad you utilized that word curious, because when we're in fear, we're a small child, we're dysregulated. So we have a frontal lobe. We come online of the frontal lobe. When we're on the online, we feel safe. Okay. We feel emotionally safe. We can be creative and we can be curious. When we're scared, we're at the back of the brain. We're in the reptilian brain. We're scared. We're in fight, flight, freeze. We're running for our lives. We're scared. So you can't expect someone to be curious when they're back here in the reptilian brain.
No.
That's why we diffuse and we hold space and we welcome. Someone who's in dysregulation, whether they're 50 or they're 15 or they're 5, they're dysregulated. That's another way of saying they're in the reptilian brain. They're scared. Okay. The behavior is the result of what's happening in their bodies. So we want to think of ourselves as hosts and hostesses, I guess, to bring each other back to the frontal lobe, bring each other back online. This is when you're in this part of the brain, you're online, you're curious again, you're creative again, you're compassionate again, you're in a community again, you have clarity again, you have the 8 C's. Right? You get scared, now you're back here again, and you're doing things that you it's like you wake up from it afterwards and you say, I did what? I texted what? I said what? Because you were doing it from this brain back here.
It's so interesting how you point, because it's not actually where your vision is. It's like behind your back almost, like.
It's down, it's at the top of the spine, right? It's here.
Okay.
This is the reptilian brain right here. At the back of the spine right here.
Right.
And so you want to move the energy up to the frontal lobe.
Right. When you said it doesn't matter if you're 50 or 15, because I think often people, we associate being older or more mature that you shouldn't be doing, saying, feeling, or acting in a certain way. And it doesn't matter, because we're only dealing with fear. We're not dealing with age. And fear comes in everyone, all shapes and sizes. It's not exclusive for children. It's not like someone should know better because they're a certain age. It's just fear is fear.
Fear is always a small child. So as soon as you're scared, you're now your 3-year-old self. You're not an adult. You've regressed to a younger age. And that's, you see, that's a control mechanism as well. Let's make everybody the enemy. Let's make everybody in trouble all the time. Do you see how fear is a strategy. Fear is a control mechanism. And the more we understand what it does to ourselves, does to our body, where it is in the body, and the more we transcend it, the more we realize that it has been used to keep humans small. And this is all about breaking out and remembering our power. Yeah. Our systems are not designed for us to remember our power. Our systems are designed to tell us that we are not drawing the tree correctly.
Yes.
There's something wrong with us because we're not fitting into what they're telling us we should be doing.
Yes.
And so we have to really open our eyes, not just our eyes, but our internal eyes, and really start noticing where we've been told something different than what feels right within ourselves. And so this work is all about discerning who we truly are and what we've been told we are.
Right.
We're breaking out. We're breaking out. And it's a very exciting time to be alive. Very exciting time to be on this planet. And the work is before us. This is not easy work, is it, Sarah?
No, it's definitely not.
I go for naps. I pass out. I actually pass out.
It's not easy, but it's the most fulfilling path that I've ever been on. And it's actually, it becomes easier. It becomes more exciting. So when I feel something, when I experience something, I enjoy, I kind of start to, I appreciate that it's a moment for growth, and that there is it's the beginning and the end of something. That's how I feel now. And instead of feeling upset about certain situations and so on, I still feel emotionally sad or upset or whatever that looks like at that moment. But I understand that it's there for me to feel, to grow, and to explore a higher vibration afterwards, and to keep learning to move to that all the time. But like you said, it's not easy, but it starts to get easier, and it starts to make you laugh more, and you start to take more responsibility, and you start to kind of soften up a lot more. What is the message that you're here to share? Your core message, would you say?
That we've forgotten who we really are, and that we are powerful, creative beings and sacred celebrations of life, and that each one of us is here for a reason, and we have purpose, and we have a mission, And you might not call it that. Not everybody refers to it that way. That's how I refer to it. And then people do what they want with it. But my opinion, we've forgotten who we really are.
Right.
And our job is to remember.
Right.
And then take action.
Right.
Whatever that action means. I mean, you could be an organic farmer that works with carrots and you never see humans. That's still taking action. Doesn't mean you have to be, you know, an influencer podcaster. It could be anything. But if it is part of your work is to be an influencer podcaster, then I believe that we're meant to figure that out. And it also can change. So we can be a podcaster for a year and then move into something else.
Yeah.
I think my role in people's lives is to push buttons. I push people's buttons. I ask questions. I ask them questions and I push buttons to help them figure out who they are. And I push buttons to help them figure out who they are not. So if I get you angry, good. And if I get you excited, good. Yeah. And if I get you uncomfortable, good.
Yeah. Giving you
because
the range.
You're stirring it up.
Yeah.
I don't have your answers for you. You have the answers. My job is to stir you up.
Yeah.
To bring it out. If I were to sum up the message is that, you know, you can have joy and fun and happiness. That joy through a lifetime of chaos is achievable. I mean, I haven't had the toughest life as everybody, but I've had a lot of difficulties in my life. And the way in which I perceive that and do something about that is my choice. Everybody has a choice of what they're going to do with the cards that are dealt. If you want to look at it like that, that's one way of understanding it, is that you arrive on the scene and there's a certain situation that you've arrived to, and there are things that you go through while you're here. And it's always your choice as to how you're going to perceive them, work with them, wield your power around them. That's a choice.
Yeah, 100%.
So for people to remember that they get to choose if they're going to be a victim,
right,
or if they're going to blow past it and shine through it.
Right.
But it's always a choice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the message is that you always have a choice.
Yes. And it starts from inside.
Right.
The humans can't take the best parts away from you. They can try, and they do try, but they actually can't take you out.
Yeah, it's not possible.
It's impossible. Yeah. You're a powerful, creative being, essence that never ends. It's like trying to find the acorn in the oak tree.
Yeah.
You can't get the acorn. You can dig into the tree and, slice the tree up into tiny pieces. You're never going to find that acorn.
Yeah.
And that's us. We're the creative idea. We're much bigger than we know. It's so exciting. I don't know how anybody can be bored. I wake up, I'm so excited. I'm like, oh, what are we going to learn about today? What kind of connections am I going to make today?
Yes.
How many people am I going to piss off today? Like, woo!
Let's stir this up. This is life, Laura.
Let's stir it up. Let's go. Let's go. Bring it on. You want to fight? Let's go. Yeah. But not in a mean way, I want to see you scrap. I want to see you get scrappy because people are walking around and they're half alive.
Yeah.
I'd rather see them scrappy.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I think you have taught me since knowing you that there is so much in life to be excited about, and it doesn't cost anything to be excited or to recognize joy and to recognize excitement. And that's why I feel like I always feel joyful around you, because you recognize what joy looks like. You've obviously done the work. You have a joy journal, and I think it's wonderful, Laura. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy of all the work that you're doing.
Yay.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. where can the audience find you if they want to get in touch with you?
Well, the most direct way is to go to my website. It's knowselfservices.com with a K. So KNOW.
Right.
So no self, SELF, services, SERVICES.com. So knowselfservices.com.
Right.
And it's actually a play on words, no self. I was studying Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose in 2008. And I was on my way to a mindfulness meditation class at the University of Toronto in Canada.
Yeah.
And I knew I had to change the name of my business to something different than it was. And I wasn't sure what to name it. And so I was listening to his voice and his teachings on my way. And he talked about having no self and to let go of the self. And so I went, ooh, no self. Ooh, no self. And then I thought, ooh, no self services, because I always knew that I would expand past just counseling. I would do consulting. I would do coaching. I knew that. So I knew I needed services, something, because I have a meditation CD and I have a book, and I plan to offer the same message in different ways. And so I thought, oh, no self. So having no self is that remembering that you aren't your form, that you are essence, that you are, there's no beginning, middle, or end to you, right? It's just a continuous, always being essence. So having no self is the form, like this, having no self. And then he also talked about knowing thyself. So know thyself, and the importance of the more you get to know yourself, the less you know, really. And so it's a never ending digging of who you are. So that's where no self services came from. So now you know. That it's knowselfservices.com. And on the site, you can click on Joy Journal and you can go to my store that has my meditations and my books. And I also have a Joy Journal course for kids, which outlines, it's in 3 videos, and it's really great. Kids love it. Yeah. And they learn about the Joy Journal, but for ages 9 to 12. And you can email me off the site as well. So, and then all my links to Instagram and all those things are on there. So
awesome.
On my website.
Awesome. And just to touch there, it's so important to work with kids because they are the ones that are going to continue this on. And if we're going to expose them to this, it has to start at a young age. Like it can start at any age, but preferably when they're children, when they're should be the most joyful in their life, and how to acknowledge joy. It's amazing.
Yes. So the course is 3 very clear Joy Journal videos that I created for the Big Brothers Big Sisters Association during COVID. It was like for a camp, and the kids just all loved it so much. They said, hey, we probably should make this more, like they said, let's make it available to purchase. And so when you purchase it, I just send you a link to the 3 videos and and the PDF that outlines it for kids. It's very clear, and you just have to go out and get a Joy Journal for them to create. But I explain all of that on there, and children really seem to enjoy it. So
of course. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for you. Thank you so much for being on Sacred Creators.
Hey, thank you so much for listening and tuning in. I really hope you got a lot of value from this episode. If you did, I would love if you shared this with your friends, with your family, or anyone that you feel would resonate with today's message. Also, please consider subscribing to Sacred Creators podcast here. This way, you'll be able to get notices when next podcast episodes are out, and to support the community as well. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day. Love and liberation to you.